In our last journey with Elizabeth Woodville, we saw her defy all odds to become the Queen of England in 1464. Her story, like something from a fairy tale, was beginning. After her dazzling coronation, draped in royal purple, Elizabeth's life took more twists and turns. In this chapter, we dive into the stirring events that followed her rise to power. 6. The rise of the controversial Queen. Back in 1464, in England, a story unfolded that seemed like it came right out of a fairy tale. Elizabeth Woodville, a woman not born into a royal family, became a queen in real life. She secretly married King Edward IV, a king younger than her by 5 years, and her life changed completely. Entering the royal court, Elizabeth brought something new. She wasn't what people usually expected a queen to be. She was a commoner, a widow from the Lancastrian side, and had 2 sons. The Yorkist nobles at the court were surprised. They whispered, wondering, can she really be our queen? A key figure who didn't want Elizabeth to be queen was Richard Neville, the Earl of Warwick, also known as the Kingmaker. He was King Edward's cousin and one of his key advisors at that time. He had planned for the king to marry a French princess, thinking it would be good for England, but King Edward married Elizabeth instead, messing up the Kingmaker's big plans. There was much gossip in the palace about Elizabeth. Some people thought she must have used magic to make the king fall in love with her. There were also rumors about King Edward's past and how he might have tricked women with fake priests and sham marriages. These rumors made people question if Elizabeth was the right choice as queen. But everything changed on May 26, 1465, Elizabeth's coronation day. London celebrated big time. Elizabeth wore a stunning purple dress, looking like a queen from a fairy tale. This critical day proved to everyone that Elizabeth was the rightful Queen of England, leaving no doubts behind. 7. The Ascension of the Woodvilles. After Elizabeth's coronation as the Queen of England, her family, the Woodvilles, started making moves that shocked the kingdom. Their actions raised eyebrows and fueled growing resentment, especially from Richard Neville, the Kingmaker. One of the most startling events occurred in 1465, involving Elizabeth's young brother, John Woodville. At just 20 years old, John married Catherine Neville, the Duchess of Norfolk, who was an astonishing 65 years old. This age difference was almost unheard of at the time. People all over the kingdom gossiped about this marriage. They whispered that it was all for power and wealth, not love. This unusual match made many at the court uncomfortable, wondering what the Woodvilles planned. The Woodvilles didn't stop there. The family used their royal connection to climb the social ladder. They arranged marriages with some of the most powerful families, securing titles and lands. Every time the Woodvilles gained power, it seemed like they pushed someone else out of the way. These activities didn't sit well with the Kingmaker. He watched as the Woodvilles, a family of commoners, rose to heights that even noble families dreamt of. He believed his family, the Nevilles, deserved those opportunities, not the Woodvilles. Every move the Woodvilles made seemed to poke at the Kingmaker's pride and patience. In 1467, Edward fired his Lord Chancellor, Warwick's brother George Neville, Archbishop of York, further angering the Kingmaker. Some suggested that Edward intentionally promoted the Woodvilles, as they had to rely solely on Edward and would remain loyal to the king. It wasn't just the Kingmaker who was upset. Other nobles began to feel threatened by the Woodvilles' rapid rise. They saw Elizabeth's family as upstarts who didn't respect the established order. The nobles started to whisper and plot, thinking of ways to put the Woodvilles back in their place. Through these years, Elizabeth found herself in a tough spot. She loved her family, but their actions were causing trouble in the kingdom. As queen, she had to balance her family's ambitions with the need to keep peace among the powerful nobles of the land. 8. The Kingmaker's Rebellion. In the late 1460s, Elizabeth Woodville, the Queen of England, faced some of her most challenging days. Richard Neville, also known as the Earl of Warwick or the Kingmaker, was upset with how powerful Elizabeth's family, the Woodvilles, had become. In 1469, he decided to do something drastic about it. He started a rebellion to change who was king. In the initial phase of the rebellion, King Edward's troops lost a big battle at Edgecote Moor against Warwick on July 24, 1469. Edward was held captive in Middleham Castle. During this scary time, Elizabeth's family faced terrible things. Her father, Richard Woodville, and her brother, John Woodville, were captured by Warwick's forces. Sadly, the Kingmaker's forces executed both of them on August 12, 1469. Elizabeth must have felt heartbroken and scared, losing her family like this. Things got even worse for Elizabeth in September 1470. The Kingmaker forced Edward to flee to his sister's duchy in Burgundy. In October 1470, the Kingmaker restored Henry VI to the throne and became the country's lieutenant and true ruler. One of his first acts was to confiscate Edward and Elizabeth's land and titles, leaving them with nothing. Elizabeth, expecting a baby, knew she had to find a safe place. She went to Westminster Abbey, a place where she could be protected. In November 1470, a son was born. Amid all this chaos, she named him Edward after his dad, the king, who was now in exile. This period was a tough time for Elizabeth. She was in the Abbey, her husband was far away, and she had a new baby to take care of. She didn't know what would happen next, or if she and her son would be safe. But Elizabeth was strong. She hoped that her husband would return one day, and her son, little Edward, would grow up to be king. She waited in the Abbey, hoping for better days to come.